Good morning, Business Practices Oversight Committee. I'm Norio Armstrong, Senior Vice President of Global Communications and Public Affairs. I've received a troubling communication today from General Min Ko-ye, Interior Minister of the Republic of Champa. Here's the gist of it. A growing indigenous environmentalist movement in Champa, the Ne Manu, has become troublesome to its government by working to undermine government efforts to build large-scale gas pipes through virgin jungle in the northern part of the country. The government, which is regarded by most of the civilized world as an oppressive military junta, sees the organization as a cause of internal unrest and as supporting interests opposing those of the state. We believe that this is so both because of personal investments government leaders have in such projects and because they sincerely believe that these projects are necessary in order to improve the nation's economy. The government has accused leaders of Ne Manu of moral corruption, and members of the Ne Manu appear to have been brutalized by government-sponsored paramilitary groups. As a part of its crackdown on the Ne Manu, which it has officially declared to be a terrorist organization, the Champese government demands that all three multinational internet search engine companies serving its country's population do the following. 1. Eliminate any reference to this movement and its leaders from our search results and blog entries. 2. Remove videos and blogs and social media accounts that petition for economic assistance to the Ne Manu or encourage resistance in Champa. 3. Allow the Champese government access to all of the non-public information we have about Ne Manu or its leaders from emails, blogs, instant message conversations, or social media platforms in our systems. 4. Remove videos, blogs, and social media messages insulting the country's founder, Ly Van Lang. 5. Remove images, videos, blogs, and social media messages insulting major Tuk and Kep religious leaders, or which may be interpreted as religiously offensive. 6. Do not reveal any of this to the people of Champa or the international community, as this could threaten the ongoing investigation against the Ne Manu and the security of Champa. According to General Ye, adhering to these requests will demonstrate our commitment to peace and prosperity in Champa and our respect for its laws and its culture. Failure to meet these demands, he warns, will make things difficult for us in Champa and possibly lead to the termination of our access to Champa's market of approximately 50 million people. Some board members want to do as Ye says and comply with all of these requests. But would this make us partly responsible for God knows what the Champese government does with our help? Other board members want to take a stand against all the government demands and comply with none of these requests. However, we do comply with government requests for censorship, content removal, or user information in many of the countries in which we operate, including, of course, China, India, and the United States. This year we have received user information requests from 31 nations and removal requests from 90. Can we justify complying with some governments but not others? Neither of these options is off the table, but minimally they would require a more nuanced justification. I would like your team to arrive at a decision regarding how we should respond to each of these demands and explain your rationale to our board of directors. In doing so, I would like you to consider that our two main competitors are in the exact same situation. If any of us is expelled from the Champese market, that company's market share will very likely be evenly divided by its competitors. I would also like you to pay very careful attention to the effect that your response will have on our much larger interests in other markets around the world. Our people in China and India in particular have informed us that these governments are closely observing the situation. To help your deliberations, I have provided you with a preparatory packet. Please read it thoroughly and consider it carefully. I look forward to your recommendations.
Good day. I'm Cynthia Liang, Amnesty International's Director for East Asian Affairs. Our sources in Champa inform us that its government has asked for your help in suppressing the Ne Manu movement. You may not like the way that sounds, but that's the reality of the request you are attempting to decide on. By complying with their government's demands, you will be assisting that illegitimate military dictatorship in its attempt to isolate, threaten, imprison, torture, and kill members of an indigenous group fighting to save the environmental integrity of their land against a corrupt, discriminatory, and brutal regime. As of today, the activities of the government's military and paramilitary forces have claimed the lives of 73 Nemanu supporters. Now, we are aware that you must be weighing your response to the Champese government with an eye towards your operations in China, and we think that you should. Toward that end, consider our 2013 annual report on the state of human rights in China. The authorities maintained a stranglehold on political activists, human rights defenders, and online activists, subjecting many to harassment, intimidation, arbitrary detention, and enforced disappearance. Access to justice remained elusive for many, resulting in millions of people petitioning the government to complain of injustices and seek redress outside the formal legal system. Internet censorship in China plays a central role in supporting the existence of these practices and in keeping them hidden from the general population. The same can happen in Shampa. Likewise, the Chinese government has a history of demanding information about users of blogging, email, and search engine services. Such information has been used to suppress, often through severe prison sentences, dissident voices in China that seek to move that nation towards greater tolerance and respect for basic human rights. We expect the same to occur in Shampa if you comply with their government's demands. If you're considering refusing these demands, it's time to ask yourself whether Shampa's actions are substantially worse than China's. And given China's repressive policies, if you find yourself morally unable to justify support for such practices in Shampa, should you not regard support of similar practices in China in the same light? You hold the key to the world's access to life-changing information. And with this enormous power comes a great responsibility. Hand those keys over to governments such as Shampa's, and you are dooming their populations to ignorance and injustice. I urge you to do the right thing. Refuse General Ye's requests and utilize this opportunity to publicly announce that you will not agree to similar demands made by any government, including China's. Respect the basic dignities of personhood. Protect human rights. The world is watching. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen of the Business Practices Oversight Committee, I am General Min Ko-ye, Minister of Internal Affairs of the Republic of Shampa. I understand that Mr. Armstrong has asked you to convene today in order to determine how to respond to our request for assistance in disrupting the operations of the terrorist group Nemanu. I would like to address your committee directly on this important matter. Intent on undermining the progress of our great nation and driven by religious fanaticism and ethnic hatred, the leaders of the Nemanu led several violent attacks designed to thwart a large gas pipe project critical to our nation's prosperity. In doing so, they have subverted the will of the people of Shampa and harmed their interests. Last week, Nemanu successfully blew up a section of the new gas line, killing several government officials in the process. These people may have been presented to you as innocent environmentalists, but let me assure you that they are nothing but a bunch of criminals seeking to force concessions from the government of Shampa. Your nation reserves the right to do all it can to protect itself from terrorist activities, as do we. And if you are to play a role in our society, we expect you to respect and help uphold the laws and policies of our government. In fact, as I'm sure Mr. Armstrong has informed you, your continued access to our market may depend on whether or not you stand with the forces of social stability and economic prosperity in Shampa. Nemanu members often communicate with each other through email and mislead outsiders with blogs, websites, and social media. They use your services to do this. If, having been informed of the unwilling role played by your company in aiding terrorists, you decide to continue to allow your services to be used for these activities, our laws will consider your company as an accomplice to terror whose presence must be eliminated. Now, I understand that as Americans you may view the lengths to which we go to protect our nation's interests unpalatable, perhaps even immoral. But to speak frankly, the proud people of Champa have very different cultural traditions and national aspirations than your own nations. We respect authority and place the greater need of the community over the selfish interests of rogue individuals. And while we are interested in allowing your company to maintain its access to our markets, we are not willing to do so at the cost of allowing you to impose your particular morality on us. Finally, let me remind you that other companies do offer services to our nation that are very similar to your own. I urge you to cooperate with our government's effort to eliminate this terrorist threat and remind you that your refusal will result in immediate halt to your services in our nation. There is a lot of money to be made in our developing nation, and your shareholders, whose interests you have a fiduciary duty to promote, will do well here, but only as long as you respect the rule of law. Choose wisely. Thank you.